We have a $50 donation from Nick Waldbillig, who says, "Let the true awesome games done quick begin."
Alright, so anyway, this game is Sonic 06, or more specifically Sonic the Hedgehog for PS3 and 360, but most people refer to it as Sonic 06. If you noticed on the schedule, this is broken percent, so thanks to a recent finding in this game, I found this trick about 4 months or so ago. The time that it takes to finish an entire story has been trimmed down a lot, specifically for Sonic and Silver. Shadow as well, but not quite as much. So what I'm going to be showcasing today is a Sonic story run and a Silver story run, and I'm going to be doing that in under 40 minutes. Now, if you saw the previous AGDQ, you'll know that Parax ran Silver's story, and that took roughly 55 minutes to an hour. But I'm going to do 2 stories in less than 40 minutes. So let's get this underway. Basically, to start the story, I need an upgrade in order to make it to the first stage, which is the light chip. That's going to allow me to use the light speed dash to make it across the water. But in order to do that, I have to purchase it. In order to purchase it, I need rings. In order to get rings, I have to do a mission. So this is the first mission of the game. Not really much to say about it. It's just go through the rings as fast as you can. There you go. Now, a little bit about this game. This is one of the more popular Sonic titles for all of the wrong reasons. It's labeled by many as the worst Sonic game, and it's for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons, and one of my only main complaints about the game, is the amount of loading that you will be seeing in this run. So the loading times take quite a while for the finish, and they're actually even worse on the PS3 version, which is why I'm running it on 360 currently. But it's a number of other reasons, like story and whatnot. But I mean, it's definitely a bad game, but it's an enjoyable one at that. So the reason why I run it. But yeah, the trick that allows me to finish these stories so quickly, I'll cover that more when it gets to the point where the magic happens. But for the time being, I'll be covering the more recent things, or the more current events rather. So the first stage of the game is Wave Ocean. It has a few neat tricks, primarily happening in the tail section. There is one neat little trick that you can do here to save about 2 seconds if you do it right. And that is not how you do it right. Perfect. So let's try that again. There are actually a number of things that can happen on that loop, from being stopped right there as you just saw, to actually making it out of the loop, but then Sonic can stumble and then die because apparently he doesn't breathe out of his nose in this game. I won't say where he breathes from. Yeah. The controls in this game do take a bit of getting used to, but once you get used to them, it's pretty easy to play it. So we're about to get to the part where you actually do the first character change in the game. So I'm going to have to complete this section of the level as Tails. Now, normally what I'm supposed to do in this section is fly all the way to the island that's up ahead and hit a switch so that the gate will close and Sonic can safely make it off of the killer whale. But you can actually exploit Tails' flight mechanics, like so. It behaves very weirdly in this game compared to the way it does in other Sonic games. Basically, the way you fly as Tails in this game is you hold on to the A button to start flying. Then after a certain amount of time, you level out, and after another period of time, Tails will tire out. However, if you let go of the A button just before you hit that point where Tails will level out, you can actually go above that line and then level out as you're falling down, which allowed me to skip what I was initially supposed to do there. For the Mach speed area, just not really too much to it. When you do a light dash off of a trail of rings, you will actually go faster than what your max speed is supposed to be. So you don't want to really hold forward on the analog stick till about a second or so after performing a light dash. And right here I'm going to intentionally take damage, and the reason for that is when you're doing a Sonic story, Shadow story, or Silver story run, if at any point you can avoid getting an S rank without wasting more than, say, 5 seconds, you should always go for it, because you will see why when I finish this level. And there's one more trick here. Got it. So that skips me having to do 2 wall jumps, saves about 3 seconds or so. So if you'll notice, my ring bonus is only 700 versus what I would have gotten if I didn't take damage, and that's going to prevent me from getting an S rank. Every time you complete an action stage, you get a medal for completing that stage, but in addition to that, you would get a medal for getting an S rank, which obviously would waste time. Now, normally when doing a Sonic run, you don't want to have saving enabled, because if you have saving enabled, it wastes about a second to actually save on the 360 version. However, I cannot unlock Silver Story unless I save, because it will not save any progress whatsoever. So now I'm at the stage of the game where I need to get an anti-grav upgrade so that I can slide under a small space, make it onto a roof, and save a girl, but that's boring and slow, so we're not going to take that approach. Instead, we're going to do something that's a bit more logical. So I'm going to run up to this wall, and I'm going to go through it like that. I'm going to touch this mirror right here, and then I'm going to just go out of this wall as well. Cool. And then I'm going to clip back into this wall, like so. And then I'm going to hit this spring, and I'm going to save the little girl. There we go. Now, the reason why I ran... Now, the reason why I ran in there and touched the mirror to Dusty Desert is because normally after saving the girl, you return to Soliana Castle Town. But if you touch the mirror then save the girl, you don't have to worry about that. So now it's the first boss of the game. As you can clearly read, it says Ralph Z. And he loves to troll me, but he's actually playing nice today. So at the start of the boss fight, he can do 4 different things, 3 of which I can deal with and 1 I can't. And he did 1 of which I can deal with, so I'm happy about that. Now, by ramming him into the statues, you do double the damage. It normally takes 4 hits to kill this boss, but if I get this right, yep, only 2 hits and the boss is down. So that's the only random part of Sonic's story, believe it or not. Well, for what any percentage is now. And for this one, you don't actually avoid getting an S rank because it will waste too much time. As you can see, my time bonus is over 20k and my score is over 10k. You get 10k for defeating the boss itself. So that's going to give you 30k, which is going to give you an S rank. So you don't bother avoiding it in this case. And that's the reason why you want to avoid getting S ranks when possible. Alright, so the next stage is Dusty Desert. Nothing really fancy in this level. It's pretty much just knowing the optimal route and running through that. There is one neat little trick at the end, though it's a bit hard to notice if you're not familiar with the speed in this game. I'll touch on that a bit when I actually make it there. Hold on tight. So this shield that I have up basically allows you to run on the quicksand. So you can pretty much make your own routes in this stage because of that.
We have $100 from Tyrell Knudsen, who says, glad to see DSSs get to run Sonic 06, and always nice to see all the MHC crew together, though they are a bit less pretty than I had hoped. Good job, and now it's time to see some of the best, or worst games.
Okay, so I took damage back there for the same reason as I did in Wave Ocean. And that speed pad that I just ran over, basically if you hold forward after hitting that speed pad, it'll reduce your speed a lot slower than just not holding on to anything. And that's because of the speed cap that the game has. Okay, so I'm almost at the point of the story where the magic actually happens, but first I have to take out Silver, who is actually really easy to beat. Apparently this is one of the bosses that a lot of people struggle with in the game, and I never really understood why. It's a really simple boss fight. So that's what I'm going to basically be showing you right now, how easy this boss fight is. So for whatever reason in this boss fight, whenever you're really far away from Silver, he decides that it's a smart idea to jump into the air and do a teleport dash, which is actually slower than running up to me. And while he's in the air, he actually does have the ability to grab me, but he's not thinking about it for whatever reason. So you basically just bait him into jumping over and over again until you get all 6 hits in. And there you go.
That was incredible.
Okay, so we have finally made it to the moment that you've all been waiting for. And this is why you can finish Sonic's story so quickly compared to what you could have a year ago, basically. This basically uses a trick which has been coined as the mission select glitch. Very straightforward. Basically, all this glitch does is allow you to accept or decline a mission from almost anywhere. And that is basically what's going to help me break his entire story. So there are multiple ways to do the mission select glitch. One requires having a friend like Sonic, having Tails following him, for example. That setup is a bit slow, but it works. I don't actually have anyone following me at this point, but luckily there is also a way to do this trick if you are solo, and that's basically having a townsperson that offers a mission being close enough to somewhere where you can actually take a death. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anyone that is close enough to the water, but this lovely young lady right here is going to be helping me out. So, the way that they make townspeople go back to their original position is kind of wonky in this game. Whatever distance they are away from their original position, they don't move them back in that direction. They move them that amount of distance wherever they're facing. And luckily, whenever you talk to a townsperson, they will face you immediately. So, based off of the animation that this townsperson has, I can make them lean back and then talk to them, and that will make them move forward more and more. So it takes a little while to actually get them to the edge, and the worst thing that I can do right now is accept the mission before I need to. So it takes a little while, but it's definitely worth the amount of time that it takes. So once I make it to the edge, I'm going to be doing one more trick, and I'll elaborate more on that after I actually do it, because I'm going to be getting a lot of loading screens. So I hope you love those. Almost there. I need to do this one more time. That should be enough. Not quite. There we go. Now, I'm still holding on to the X button right now because I need to talk to a townsperson that's going to do a storyline mission. So I'm going to go over here and talk to this gentleman. But if I were to do an X input, that would interact with the confirmation box. But as you can just see, I talked to him and it didn't. For whatever reason in this game, if you let go of a button that you are holding on to for one frame and pause the game, it allows you to repress that button and do its intended action, but it won't interact with any dialogue box or any confirmation box. So now that I was in that mission, which is Who's the Captain, I've accepted the other mission that I initially had, which is Shadows of Eggman's Mechs. But I'm not going to actually do this mission. I don't really feel like it, so let's quit out of that mission. So here's the current state of affairs. I have just quit a mission, so the game thinks that I'm not in a mission, but I am in a mission. I'm in a mission that is Who is the Captain. So technically the game has no idea where I'm at. But as you know, this is a very well-made game, and the game wants to be very fair to me. So since it can't decide where I'm at in the actual story, it's going to place me at a certain point after I finish this mission. But I'm not going to elaborate what that position is. I'm just going to let you see for yourself.
That was incredible.
Oh, well, what do you know? I just beat Sonic's story. And just to verify that I actually did beat Sonic's story. I mean, I know I was moving pretty fast, so y'all might have missed it, but there you go, 100% progress. So what's my time currently at? Perfect. So now I'm going to be showing you Silver's story. Now, if you'll remember at last AGDQ, as I stated earlier, it took around 55 minutes to an hour to actually finish this story. But Silver's story is just as broken. I'll talk a little bit about what is being skipped when I do these tricks. But I want to talk about this one neat little trick that I'm going to be doing at the beginning of Silver's story. And that is known as telephoning. Basically, they never expect you to stand on an object and pick it up at the same time. But if you are able to do that, you get something very neat happen. That's all. So obviously, Silver is the slower character in the game, so tricks like these make him go a lot faster, which is very neat. So now I'm at the end of the section. But yeah, let's backpedal a bit. The trick that I did in Sonic's story actually skipped quite a lot. In Sonic's story, I skipped 8 action stages, 5 missions, and 3 boss fights. And for Silver's story, when I perform this trick yet again, I'm going to be skipping 6 action stages, 4 missions, and 4 boss battles. Cool car. Now, Blaze has a few neat tricks at her disposal, but a lot of them you don't really see when it comes to speed running. She does have one neat trick that allows her to do her spinning fire claw and keep all of her ground speed, even though she's in the air. That one is a bit tricky to do. You have to do the spinning fire claw 1 frame after jumping. It's not too tricky, but sometimes she'll do her, yeah, that wasn't it. But sometimes she'll do her homing attack instead, but either way. It saves more time in places where you go into the air a lot, not so much here. Okay, so for the final section of Silver's Crisis City, you're supposed to go through the section that's Silver, but as I've already stated, Silver is pretty slow. So I'm just going to go around the trigger that makes you switch and do the section as Blaze.
Can we turn on the volume real quick?
Sure. Alright, so basically I'm supposed to be Silver at this point, but I pretty much skipped his trigger. You're still going to be hearing them talk though. Now it's actually faster to do Blaze's homing attack to progress forward, but only at inclines because your speed drops drastically when you're in the air. That was a cool car as well. I'm pretty sure I'm still going to get an S rank because the developers of this game expect you to go extremely slow in any Silver stage. So you notice my time bonus is over 50,000, which is what's required for an S rank. So you won't really be skipping S ranks in Silver's story. So coming up next is Silver's first boss fight in his story, and it's probably one of the harder boss fights, not to beat, but more so to optimize, and that's because the boss can be a bit random after you take it out of the first phase. And then also your attacks sometimes like to bounce off of him instead of damage him. And you might actually see that happen. It happens pretty often. But ideally, I don't want him to do an attack for a second phase. Sometimes he'll just sit there and be like, what's going on? And sometimes he'll actually do his attack. The other reason why this is pretty tricky is because this is random, and sometimes it'll make all of them explode when you don't want it to happen. Yeah, almost got away from me. I only have one left. Need to attack 3 times to get him out of a phase, so he's actually going to do his attack. And it's actually good that he did it immediately. Sometimes he'll sit there and do nothing for a while, which is what I want to happen if I have enough fireballs to throw back, but in this case I don't. So I intentionally take damage there instead of dodging it. There we go. And phase 3, he'll do the fireball attack again. And I want to make sure that I have at least 3 left over after this point. If I don't, there are some spare pieces lying around, but I'd rather get enough from this one. But all possible. And there you go, like I said. And there goes the other thing, how it bounces off of the face, but yeah, I'll just go ahead and wait this attack out. Because every time he does attack, you will get a few pieces lying around. Okay, yeah, this is good unless these blow up. And I should be able to attack him before he does his 4th phase attack. Okay, there we go. Now that was actually a really slow boss fight, but the developers actually expect you to go a lot slower than that, so that's going to be an S rank as well.
Perfect.
We have a $50 donation from It's Be Scully, who says, had to stay up and donate during the Sonic 06 segment and support the Metroid Hunters crew. Shoutouts to DarkspinesSonic, Tryhard, and the Secretary of Booty himself, Shadow Jackie. MHC is the way to be. Don't get scooped by Drybird.
That booty. It's enough time for one more donation if you want to go for it.
We have $20 from Jay Dizzle, who says, glad you guys are doing this. My best friend Rudy passed away 2 years ago due to pancreatic cancer. Let's destroy cancer together.
Alright, so time to do a little bit of learning about Silver. So he actually gets upgrades that make him go a bit faster. Unfortunately, I won't be getting those in this run. He actually moves faster while levitating, but the amount of speed you have after the levitation ends is slower than running, so it's only advised to levitate if you're going to make it into an incline at some point. Another fun fact about Silver that some of you may not have known about, he can actually skip on water, so I'm just going to go over to this Soliana mirror, which I'm not supposed to be doing this way, but it's actually really simple to do this trick if you don't have a certain upgrade. You just do a full hop and hold on to the action button as you hit the water. The amount of height you get off of your jump determines how high you actually skip. So it's advised to do a full hop. You don't actually have to, but better to be safe than sorry. So this level has a lot of interesting platforming, but instead I'm going to skip on the water and, you know, make this go a bit faster. Now this actually isn't the fastest route when you have all of its upgrades, but when you lack them, this is definitely the fastest route to take. And there's one robot that's up here. He's actually a bit of a threat. To be more specific, he's a threat to himself. So he destroyed himself, like always. Okay, so you saw this trick in Crisis City, but I'm going to be doing it yet again, and this is a teleflame. And the reason why I'm going to be doing this here is because it allows me to skip a area where I have to fight quite a bit of enemies to drop a laser grid. I'm going to jump on top of this and get this thing moving. That was actually unnecessary, but there you go. So there's your speed for Sonic 06, I guess. And yeah, so I'm actually getting close to the conclusion of this run. Believe it or not, I have to do Wave Ocean as Blaze, and then that's where the magic is going to happen for Silver's story, which is actually a lot easier to do than it is in Sonic's story. And it's clear to see why, but I'll elaborate more on that when I actually get there. Now, Blaze actually has one very neat trick that exploits the way her homing attack works. Sonic can also do this as well. It's a bit more tricky. I will go ahead and be honest, I'm not consistent at this strat, but I will try it at least once. Nonetheless, you will see the effects of what happens though. So basically the way homing attack works in this game for Blaze and Sonic is when they target an enemy, the game speeds them up dramatically because they want to ensure that they hit that target. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So if you miss your target, this happens. I got it. Cool. Okay, so basically the way that trick works is whenever you hit and, well, okay, it doesn't work on all walls, but sometimes if you run through an invisible wall, it'll actually stop your momentum. For example, if I would have missed that wall that stopped me, I would have pretty much got launched away into the distance. You wouldn't be able to see me and I would take a death. But yeah, it's a really neat trick and it saves quite a bit of time here. And it's cool that I got it, but that was a pretty good run of Wave Ocean. Now, normally 50k is the S rank, but for whatever reason, in this level only it's 30k. I don't really understand why. Because that's what it's supposed to be for missions and boss fights, but I guess that was one of the oversights that they had in the game. But yeah, as I mentioned before, there were two ways to do the mission select glitch, and one way involves having a friend follow you around, but that's a pretty complex setup and isn't really necessary for Silver because luckily for Silver, he has a townsperson that's close enough to the edge where I don't have to do any manipulation. I just levitate over the water, talk to them, and have the confirmation box up as I take a death. So there's also one other thing that's pretty different from this mission, or not this mission select glitch, but from this sequence break compared to Sonic's, and I'm not gonna spoil what it is, you'll see when it happens, but yeah, it's the basic thing that I explained earlier. It's activating a mission within a storyline mission, and then finishing that mission, and that will allow you to warp to the credits. So over here is the townsperson. Levitate and talk. And there you have it. Really simple to do. And now I'm going to go to the storyline related mission, which is over here. You can actually pan the camera down to reduce some of the slowdown that happens. So, gotta save those seconds. And here I am. So I'm going to be doing the same trick here. Buffer for 1 frame. Accept. And here we go. So now I'm in the mission protect the gate to the castle town. And I still have a mission stored, which if I recall correctly is the Soliana water target tournament. I think that's what it is. But Either way, I'm going to leave this mission and head to this one, but I don't actually want to do this mission, so I'm just going to quit out. You can actually complete the mission if you want to, but it doesn't actually change any of the effects. Okay, so in Sonic's story, you saw the alternate ending, which a lot of you didn't know about, where the captain saves the day. And you're actually going to be seeing Silver's alternate ending now, which is where he, I don't know, he just doesn't know where he is, so he falls for about 20 seconds or so. So what I actually neglected the mission is you don't have to finish the mission. You can fail it as well, and by failing the mission, you will still warp to the credits. So I'm just going to wait for him to fall for a bit. He's going to swag out a bit with a backflip. And this is actually the sad ending, unfortunately. Silver takes a death, but he did it for a good cause. And that's it. Alright, so yeah. Cool. So, yeah. This trick can actually be done with Shadow as well. Unfortunately, he doesn't skip quite as much. His, you have to be about 40 minutes or so into his run. He only skips 2 stages, 2 missions, and 1 boss fight. But yeah, there you go. That's broken percent for Sonic 06.
We have a $20 donation from Edward von Stein, who says, Sonic 06. I hear whispers of a tale that if you hold the disc up to your ear and listen very, very closely, you will not be able to hear the ocean as its sound is still now loading.